Fan Sports, the sports show that is dedicated to Seattle sports fans. My name is Dave. This is Kevin. How you doing this evening, Kevin?
I'm doing great. Well,
All right.
maybe I'm not doing so great after what.
You know what, Kevin? When we have to give the MVP to our punter, you know it was not a good night last night. That's all I have to say about that. So let's dive.
I don't know if I have to give it to the punter, but yeah, I mean, pretty close. He shanked one off his foot, so.
I know. All right, Kevin. So here's what, before we jump into that, if you guys could do us a favor, subscribe if you're new here, turn on your notifications, leave thumbs up, leave thumbs down. We're going to give you our list of winners and losers of last night's game. If you guys think there was a different winner or different losers, make sure you leave it in the comments. And if you agree with us, tell us too that you agree. We always love to hear from the fans. Man, we've gotten some great stuff from our fans so far, and we want to keep it coming. Marcel, you've been awesome. I love getting input. Kenneth, you've been awesome. Thank you guys so much. So without further ado, let's jump in, Kevin, and talk about last night's games, winners and losers. Let's start with the winners. Kevin, I saw last night some things that were good, and probably my most favorite player out of last night's game was Alton Robinson. This guy came in and he was everywhere. He was defending passes downfield. He was coming off the edge. He was doing everything that you possibly could need from a defensive endman. And to know that we got him in the 6th round last year, man, I tell you, I'm high on this kid. I think he's going to continue to improve. I'm excited to see what he can do. Kevin, who did you see that impressed you?
Well, let's talk about Alton Robinson real quick. I mean, he ended up with 5 total tackles, 4 solos, and a quarterback hit. I mean, if you watch that game, he was hustling. He played phenomenal football. Even though they haven't played football in a long time, you know he had to be exhausted.
Oh, he was he looked gassed.
He looked gassed.
You're showing tight pictures of him, and I was like, I feel for that dude. That looks like me coming up a set of stairs. I don't care what you say.
He looked really, really good. So that's all. I just wanted to put a couple stats in there. But, man, he was – how many quarterback pressures did he get? How many times did he touch the quarterback? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
He was everywhere. So that's all.
Agreed. All right, Kevin, who did you stood out to you besides Al?
Well, I mean, we got to talk about DJ Dallas, man.
DJ Dallas.
That kid, I was so excited to see, Collins come back and see him do some good stuff on the offense and rush for quite a few yards. He didn't do anything. We got DJ Dallas, had 5 carries, 24 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. And then he had 2 receptions for 45 yards with the tap dance down the sideline for a touchdown. You cannot tell me that he is not the player of the game. Hands off.
Out of the U. I completely agree. I was so excited to see him going. Seeing that number 31 on him is a little weird.
It is.
It's hard to not think of Cam when you see that, but if he could continue to improve and play well, more power to that kid. I just, and not only that, but I watched him on offense, and when we dropped back to pass, he was picking up blitzes. I was really impressed with the strides forward that we saw from him.
Absolutely. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll go buy a 31 jersey with DJ Dallas right now, man. That was so much fun watching him play.
Sweet. Kevin, anybody else that stood out to you?
Well, I thought a couple people on offense did. I thought Cade Johnson looked really good. He had 4 catches, 25 yards, 6.3 yards per catch. Freddie Swain looked good, 3 catches, 29 yards, 9.7 yards per catch. That was pretty much it. I actually thought Sean Mannion was the best quarterback of the night, but you and I disagree on that one. And so we both agree that Geno looked
not a fan of Geno.
even though he was playing with a concussion, I've never been a fan of Geno, and we've had the discussion many, many times about that. But I thought Sean looked really good.
My last winner that I'm going to have is going to go back to the defensive side. I think Ryan Neal looked good. I think he looked the best defensive back that we had out on the field. So as far as the winners go, Kevin and I both think that Alt Robinson. We love DJ Dallas, and we were both high on Ryan Neal as well. We had some receivers that we felt did an adequate job, but when you only score 7 points, Kevin, it's hard to pick out the good.
Hey, while we're talking about good players, let's talk about Cody Barton.
Oh yes, Cody.
We almost forgot. Basically, there was 3 guys on defense I thought that did really well. Cody Barton, 9 total tackles, 7 solos, 2 sacks. BBK, Ben Burkervin, 12 total tackles, 6 solos. And Rasheem Green. That's
a guy that we wrote off for dead a couple weeks ago, Kevin.
Yeah, we wrote him off, and boy, he looked good. So, hats off to those guys. And actually, Trey Brown, he had 6 total tackles, 5 solos. So,
well, let's debate a little bit here, Kevin, and let's give you, the viewer, a chance to weigh in on this. As far as BBK goes, Kevin thought he was awesome. I think that he played adequate. I think that he stopped the plays. He didn't let yards after catch go on, but they were still getting to the second level on him. I didn't think that he particularly stood out to me, but Kevin, you thought he did.
I didn't say he played great. I just said he was better than a lot of the other guys on our team.
That's true.
I'm not saying that he was the best player on the team. I didn't think that, but he was showing up everywhere. Him, Ryan Neal, and Alton Robinson in the first half, they were everywhere. I mean, those were the 3 guys in Rasheem Green that were just stood out. I mean,
Farrah Fawcett thought that Ryan O'Neal played well, but other than that, you know.
And Cody Barton didn't play the first half. So,
yeah,
it might have been a different story. We wouldn't have been talking about BBK right now if Cody would have played the first half, but he didn't. And so I thought I thought he played good.
All right. Well, you guys can either agree with me or you agree with Kevin. Make sure you let us know down below. All right, Kevin, let's jump into the bad. And I think before we start probably the worst of the bad to me, if you want my complete and honest in watching this, was the fact that we couldn't get off the field when we had them in 3rd and long situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's been a problem that we've had for the last few seasons.
Yep.
And I see it rearing its ugly head already in the preseason game. I mean, the fact that we're giving up, and it was given up, some of those plays were given up to Akilla Witherspoon, somebody that we thought was going to come in and take advantage of that job, but yet he could not, get some of those big stops that we needed him to get. That is probably, to me, stood out as the biggest disappointment so far in this young football season. The fact that we could not hold them to a 3-and-out. We couldn't get them to not drive that ball downfield. Kevin, any thoughts that you have as far as things that really stood out to you that were something that you thought not so good?
I think I agree with you on that. Although some of those throws were on the money. I mean, there is nothing. I thought the corners did a very solid job. Trey Flowers, Witherspoon, I thought they did a great job keeping stride with those guys and being there. Some of those throws were just on the money, and hats off. I mean, there was a couple times I thought we could have got our hands in it a little bit more. Yeah, but I didn't think our corners got beat too bad.
Okay, here's the deal, Kevin. Akilla Witherspoon and Trey Flowers both have a shot to be starters on this defense. Mm-hmm. That is their 3rd string quarterback and probably their 3rd or 4th string receivers that made them look stupid. I'm sorry, Kevin. They should have been all over them like stink on what. Yep.
All right. I'm not going to argue.
Okay. So the thing that we are going to argue on, because we have completely different views on it, then the next bad to me was how much of a rookie Stone Forsythe looked last night. To me, he looked slow. And I think that from what I saw of the offensive line last night, the left tackle position has to be addressed sooner than later. And I think as far as a loser goes, I think our front office right now is looking behind the ball because I think that something has to get done with Dwayne Brown. Kevin, on the other hand, is not so much in that camp. Kevin, tell me what your thoughts are.
My thought is Dwayne Brown was never going to play in that game. Ever.
True.
He was not even going to play in the preseason.
True.
Dwayne Brown is a stud, and he's always been that way. However, there are three guys between Dwayne Brown and this poor kid, Stone Forsythe, because he is a rookie. Of course, he's thinking about everything. He's going to react slow because he's got to memorize everything, and he's got to be there. I felt bad for him. If we would have had any of the other three guys that would have been in front of him, there's no way it wouldn't have looked that bad. And I don't think that's a knock on the administration or Pete and John. I do not think that. Dwayne Brown is on a contract for this year. He needs to play. I do not fault the rookie, and I don't blame the team for Dwayne Brown not playing because he wasn't going to play anyway. If the other three guys would have been there, would have been a different story. We wouldn't be having this conversation. I thought you threw a poor kid, 7th round draft pick in the fire, and everybody's beating him up. And I thought, man, I just feel sorry for him because he did look bad and he did look slow. But when you're trying to learn all that stuff and trying to think instead of react, Dwayne Brown's been in the league forever and he doesn't have to think anymore. He just reacts. Stone Forsythe has to think. And that's
okay. I agree with that to a point, Kevin. But when you're running the ball, it's a hat on him. And why didn't Alex Collins get very many rushing yards? You kind of point to the simple fact that he was not winning those one-on-one matchups.
I think Alex Collins was not running the ball because he was trying to run straight up the middle and he just was not hitting any holes. And maybe there wasn't any holes, but he didn't look good, in my opinion, at all. I didn't see anything impressive from Alex Collins last night, and I don't think it had anything to do with the offensive line because it was pretty much the same offensive line when DJ Dallas went in. They might have had a second or third string, defensive tackles, but I don't think so. I think that they were still trying to play. I guess Bradley wanted to win that game.
Right.
I mean, there was no doubt about it.
Did you hear how much tickets were going for?
No.
To that game? $1,500 a seat. That's just crazy.
Well, Santana, playing halftime, I could see why it was $1,500.
Well, and it wasn't just that. It's the first game at Allegiant, and they put towels out there for every person. I mean, there was some cool stuff about it, but I don't know if it was for $1,500 a seat.
Right. And I agree with you. The offensive line play was not good at all.
No. All right, Kevin, was there anything else bad that really jumped out to you?
Yeah. Gino. I'm sorry. He looked like crap. Everybody's going, oh, he got a concussion on the, Gino. I'm not a fan of Gino, so I'm sorry that he looked bad, and that's where I'm going to stay.
All right, Kevin. My last bad, and then we're gonna wrap this up for our recap. LJ Collier.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think that LJ Collier last night could have been a time that he could have came out and made a statement, and instead he laid an egg.
Yep.
He did not look like somebody that should have been drafted in the first round. No. This is his 3rd season. He should be out there shining brighter than any light that we have. He should be what Alton Robinson is.
Yes. Absolutely agree with you on that one. 100%. We thought, Rasheem Green was going to get cut first, but after last night,
nope.
I'm 100% with you. LJ Collier is probably going to be gone. And it'll be fun because, now Tuesday night, our next Seahawks Weekly, we get to talk about the cuts.
Yeah. All right, Kevin. Well, now that we've baited everybody's breath knowing that we're going to be talking about the cuts that are coming up, is there anything else that you wanted to recap on last night's game?
No, it was painful to watch. That's what I have to recap.
Yep, and I watched every minute of it. So, you know,
I started taking notes and I threw my notebook down at halftime. So
there we go. Santana did that to you, Kevin. All right, Kevin, I will bid you a fond farewell. Kevin, see you on Tuesday.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks. All right, man.